Hi, good evening. My name is David, and today I'm running a session of Bite Marks, which is a Powered by the Apocalypse game of Werewolf Pack Dynamics. It's by Becky Anderson, released through Black Armada Games. Currently available, so do check it out if you're interested. So yeah, the this game is being run as part of the Gauntlet Hangouts. The Gauntlet's an online role-playing game community. We can be found online at gauntlet-rpg.com. And we've got, as well as kind of the calendar where we arrange games like this, we also have a monthly zine called Codex, and a series of podcasts as well as a forum where you can go and chat to people there. So do check any of that out if you are interested. But yeah, so this evening, as I said, we're playing Bite Marks, which is a game of Werewolf Pack Dynamics. In particular, this game is set in in Huntersley, a fictional suburb in the northern English town of Sheffield, in the early 1970s, where we will be looking at the lives of our werewolf pack. We did some fairly in-depth character creation and sort of detailing the world and the pack last time, which if you're watching this is probably also available online. But yeah, today we'll be kind of starting to get into play proper. So first things first, I'm going to ask my players here to introduce themselves and the character they will be playing this evening. So I will start off. I'll go in character keeper order. So Bethany, if I can ask you to introduce yourself and your character first, please.
Sure. Hi, I'm Bethany. I'm playing Joe Hammond, the prodigal who is a nurse working at the local hospital and had left the pack kind of for their own safety because her old boss knew she was a werewolf and she didn't want to draw suspicion to them, but has recently come back. Also, she bit one of the newest member of the pack, and who does not know that it was her who was responsible.
That's brilliant, thank you. And speaking of our newest member, Kyle, if you would like to make your introductions.
Hi, I'm Kyle, he, him. I'll be playing Fran Flynn, the cub of the pack, so she's the least experienced member, and was actually turned by Joe to save her life when she wound up in the hospital.
That's brilliant, thank you very much. And last but not least, Puckett, if you'd like to introduce yourself and your character.
Hi there, I'm Puckett, he, him pronouns, and I'll be playing Garrett Heath, the alpha of the pack, who does not know that the prodigal bit the cub to save her life and brought her back. And right now, Garrett is somewhat stressed as he recently took over as the alpha of the pack after the former alpha was killed in a mine cave-in, and has decided they're not going out like that. None of them, not him, not the pack. All of them are going to do something with their lives. Hell or high water.
Brilliant, thank you very much. So yeah, as I mentioned, we're setting again this evening in the early 1970s in the north of England. We're looking at kind of the way that how the pack as sort of people and werewolves survive and thrive in the environment they're in. Sort of inspired by kind of the Northern Soul movement of the early 70s, and such like. That's kind of our main thematic thing. So with all that said and done, I think the scene that we will start off with, is as we established last time. The pack has kind of a tradition of having a like a big hunt out in the Peak District when the full moon is out, as a sort of way of connecting with their wolf self. So that's, I think, where we'll pick things up. It is approaching dusk out on the moors. It's out on the peaks. It is the landscape is quite hilly and craggy around lots of steep valleys and high rocky outcroppings. Lots of dry stone walls and sheep milling around. And it's probably kind of drizzling and cold and windy. But the sun is starting to go below the horizon. It's not bright at the minute, regardless. It's kind of wintry, and that sort of anemic sun is struggling to sort of light up the hillside. The tradition that the pack works under is that you essentially, on the day of the full moon, you sort of follow the cycle of light and dark. So currently everyone is in their in human forms, waiting till the sun sets fully to turn into wolves, at which point you will go off on a hunt across the peaks. Currently with you, as well as yourselves, are the two sort of NPC members of the pack we established last time, which is Sarah Turner, who's an older lady, who's kind of the almost like a sort of grandmotherly figure to the pack as a whole, as well as Terry Davenport, who is, again, he's probably maybe a little older than the majority of our pack members. He's sort of in his late 30s, maybe early 40s. He was a friend of the old Alpha. And yeah, he is kind of casting around himself, making almost like a show of kind of looking off into the horizon for Jax, who does not seem to have arrived yet. And for anyone who is watching, that is one of the members of the group who is not here this evening, or not here yet. So we will see how that shakes out. Yeah. So with all of that, oh yes, and sorry, I should have said, I've just seen. Thank you for that, Packet. Yes, you have the state of the pack roll to make, which will let us know the sort of the situation in which you all, how the pack as a whole is doing when you find yourself here. So if you'd like to roll that, and we'll see how that goes.
With my heart stat, that's a 12.
Nice. So on a 12, I believe that means, I mean, broadly speaking, everything's going great. But yeah, so for the rest of this session, every packmate will get a -1 to disobey for this session, because at the moment the feeling of pack unity is running quite strongly. So as a result, you are going to be slightly more difficult for you to sort of act out against the will of the pack as a whole. Actually, before we get into things proper, I will just explain a couple of the moves that are kind of important for how the game runs, essentially. So the first thing, I know I did mention this last week, but just as a refresher, you'll all have chosen 3 heartbeats, which will are things that essentially, if you embody that kind of characterization of your character in a scene, you get to mark a point of XP. You get to mark either your wolf or human track, depending on which form you are when you sort of hit that note. So that's one thing, just as a sort of background thing. I will try and check in at the end of scenes with people to make sure that, they have noted or noticed that that thing happening, but I'm really bad at that, so I may not do so. I will largely leave it up to you to mark for yourselves, but I will try and keep it refreshed in people's minds.
Before we get
Secondly,
started,
is
there any chance you could do a quick refresher on how the XP works? Because I'm looking at the sheet, and I am once again confused by the human path, wolf path advances.
That's right. Yeah, no worries. So yeah, you'll notice on the character sheet you have 2 paths, a wolf path and a human path. Each of them has 3 dots in it. So the way this works is when you mark XP and you're in human form, you mark on your human track. When you earn XP and you're in your wolf form, you mark on your wolf track. That's kind of the breakdown between those two in terms of earning it. You only earn an advance when you hit 3 in both tracks, and if you hit 3 in one track, then any further XP you get in that form doesn't count, essentially. So essentially, it's kind of an incentive to spend some time, switch between different forms, and explore how you act in your different forms. Like I said, once you hit 3 in both tracks, then you earn an advance, which is sort of a standard PBTA thing of like an extra stat or a new move.
With the heartbeats, is that something that we can hit all 3 in a session and that counts for 3 XP?
So you can, they're technically by scene. So you can hit them each scene you're in, though in any one scene you can only earn a maximum of 2 XP in total, which is by hitting heartbeats, by referencing the kind of cultural topics that we've sort of set up as part of the pack. So in the pack tab there, sort of the slang and the cultural traditions. I looked this up last time, and it's completely gone out of my head again. How you so yeah, heartbeats, pack culture. If your tie with another PC would go up to 4, you gain a point of XP, and then that drops your ties back down to 1 again. Or if you share a moment of heartfelt camaraderie with another PC, which is a more sort of fluffy one, I guess. Finally, some some skin moves also give the opportunity to earn XP. Hopefully, those ones should be clear based on which moves you've taken. So yeah, that's how XP works. As I said, there is no like XP on a miss in this, which obviously a lot of PBTA games do use, but that isn't the case here. As I said, I will try and keep an eye myself on like when I think people have earned XP in a scene, but I may not do so. So I'll try. I'll at least try and check in at the end of scenes and just say, hey, did anyone think they got XP there? Generally speaking, like earning your XP shouldn't necessarily be difficult. There obviously may be scenes where it doesn't happen, but the sort of the justification you need for it isn't, you don't have to like move mountains to do it, as long as we all think that like, yeah, you were like friendly. If that's one of your heartbeats in a scene, then that's cool. We're not looking to police it too heavily. The other moves I will just make a note of before we begin, because they're kind of quite important with how the game runs and sort of idiosyncratic to this game. So the first one, there's a move called Spill. This this move activates when I will just quickly look up the exact wording on it, but basically it is when you open up about your emotions. It's where are we? Let's have a look. When you open and truthfully express one of the following: your desire for a packmate, why you are hurting, what you are angry about, or what you are afraid of. So any of those things, when you open up about that, you add one pack pool. This is a resource that is tracked on the pack tab in the Character Keeper. And you also give the packmate that you are kind of interacting with +1 tie on you. You can do this with NPCs. If you do it with an NPC, the ties are irrelevant. Ties are only relevant to other player characters. But you can still add that pack pool if you open up to an NPC. There's also kind of a companion move to this called Provoke Spell, where this is a move where if you want to get someone else to open up and use that spell move, you can use the Provoke Spell move, which is a roll with heart. On a success, you get them to spill. It may cost you if you get a mixed success. So that's spill. And the relevance of the pack pool, I'll get onto probably in a little bit, but broadly speaking, the pack pool is a resource that can be spent when you are acting with other wolves and in the interests of the pack as a whole. At its simplest level, this can be used you can spend it on a 1-for-1 basis to add +1 to a roll. There are some other moves as well that come off of it, which are in the pack tab, that let you kind of significantly influence like a sort of essentially a combat encounter or something like that. We'll touch that more when we get to it, but just to be aware that that's a thing that happens. So that's one of the kind of the core like feedback loops in the game, is kind of by like opening up and being emotional and honest with each other, you generate pack pool, and as you generate pack pool, that allows you to accomplish sort of greater acts of like action, I guess for want of a better word, but greater acts of like controlling and acting together as a pack and achieving your goals. The other sort of moves I will talk about that act again as a sort of like a bit of a paired interaction are the dominate move. So the dominate move can be used whenever you want to get someone else to do what you want. And there has to be some kind of dominant behavior, it's like enforcing your will over somebody, so you have to kind of be quite forceful or intense with it. This can be used both on your pack mates and also on just other NPCs. Essentially, if the dominate move is used against you, it can require you to follow the course of action that the dominating person wants you to do. It doesn't make you like it or want to do it, but it makes you do it. If this is ever going into an area where people are uncomfortable with it, then do feel free to kind of just call it. I'll get into safety tools as well in a second too, but just feel free to just say, hey, hang on a sec, can we just have a chat about this first? That is always fine. The fact that it's a mechanic doesn't overrule that element of things. And very specifically, that move cannot be used to compel somebody into any sexual or sort of romantic situations. You cannot compel that. You also cannot compel suicide or self-harm. Those are just out of the scope of that move, and you cannot do it. You will not be allowed to do so. That's baked into the mechanics of the game. So that is the dominate move. There is also the disobey move, which I referenced just now, which got me into this whole sidetrack. But disobey is used when you want to take action that is in contravention to either something that someone has dominated you to do, direct orders from the alpha, or the traditions of the pack. So anything you've been ordered to do by the alpha or is a pack tradition, you cannot take that action unless you make the disobey move. It's kind of again, it's this idea of like control within the pack. It's just you cannot bring yourself to do it unless you make that move first. So we have our pack traditions, which we can go over in a moment if people want to, but we've got those in front of us. And yeah, that also applies to rules for the alpha. There's some when or if those situations come up, we'll go into it. There is a bit of a there can be some grey areas to whether somebody is dominating or whether you are disobeying an order. You can sort of use them in combination sometimes. The one big exception to that, or one of the big exceptions to that, is that you cannot disobey the direct order of the alpha with the disobey move. You have to use the challenge the alpha move, which can result in you taking over the position of alpha, both in the narrative and mechanically, if you do so. So that's something to be aware of. That's not to say you shouldn't do it. It's just that. But we'll sort of, again, we'll look at that if it comes up in play. But that's one sort of important distinction to bear in mind. So, like I said, I will obviously talk you through the moves and stuff as we hit them, and teach them as we go. But those are just sort of some of the more important ones to how the game flows. That we will, to be aware of as we go into it. The other thing, again, I did mention this last time, in terms of like changing shape, you are free to switch between human and wolf form basically when you choose to. You're not bound by the phases of the moon or anything else. There may be some situations where you are forced to change or are not able to change, but again, those will come up as they come up. Although, as I mentioned earlier, culturally, within your pack, in the situation you're currently in, you are expected to remain in human form until the sun sets. But that's a cultural thing rather than a physical thing. So I think that is everything. Does anyone have any questions before we get started?
I have, it's not a question about that. I just noticed something, which is that somebody should have a tie on me based on a move that I completely missed last time.
Oh, yes, of course. You took the healing move, didn't you?
Yeah.
I completely blanked on that. Okay, yes, I will. We'll do that quickly. Yes, because you have the healing move. Yes, so yeah, you can keep a cool head, stitch a wound, and save a life. But someone died while you were away from the pack, and someone hasn't forgiven you for that. Choose who died and a packmate to take +1 tie on you for your guilt.
Yeah. I mean, it would kind of make sense to say Logan, since he did die while I was gone, but I'm not sure why anyone would blame me for that. If someone can come up with a reason, or come up with a different character who died.
I mean, if it helps you at all, I was thinking Logan too, but I was also running into the same wall that you were, which is it was a mine cave-in.
Right. I didn't cause the mine cave-in.
Yeah, I mean, it's not like he got shot or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, and again, the blame doesn't have to necessarily be rational. It could just be the kind of like, hey, if you'd been here, you could have done something to help him. If you're happy with that, but said if you want to choose another person who may have died that you think you can get a more of a hook into, that's also cool.
Fran has no ties on me. But also hasn't been in the pack that long. But I think she joined the pack before I rejoined it. So like there could be somebody that she knew.
Yeah, but I thought we'd established that it was like a 3-week gap or something like that between her being turned and you coming back.
I did we? Okay.
I mean, am I misremembering that, or Kyle?
You might be
do remember
remembering
that?
it fine.
That sounds right to me.
Okay. I didn't remember that at all.
Maybe just something simple and old school. Like we were out on a hunt and somebody kind of fell off a cliff and there wasn't a whole heck of a lot you could do, but they died and somebody else blames you.
Yeah.
Like before you left even.
Yeah, that could be. Like, you know, like first aid would probably not have saved this person, but like this, you know, someone thinks
But you were
maybe
there
there
and
would have been a
somebody thinks-
chance if you had, you know.
Because I mean that's about all I can think of in that respect. I mean, Kyle, do you have any ideas?
Not really. That sounds good to me.
Okay, so what was this person who was killed in a literal hunting accident? Pull up the random name generator.
Or maybe they got shot by somebody because they saw what they thought was a wolf, and
Yeah, maybe that would be.
and they managed to get clear and get to something resembling safety while we were out on the hunt, and you just couldn't stop the bleeding or whatever. You couldn't find.
Yeah.
You couldn't
This
cauterize
was-
it or whatever.
This was Jamie O'Connor.
Cool. I will make a note of that.
And that pretty much means that either Brian or I have to blame you for that.
Yep. Unless, like, yeah, there could be some convoluted reason that that Fran would have known Jamie prior to joining the pack, but that's
Yeah. I mean, we could go with that, I guess.
Yeah.
we
that
could.
would-
Could have joined. Oh, my my cousin Jamie was part of this pack. Now I know. Now I understand what happened to Jamie.
Yeah,
Works for me.
like before,
And-
you just knew that Jamie got shot and died or something like that, and didn't know all the details, and now you know the story, and it's like, oh, which would make it really interesting because this is also the person who saved your life, even though you don't know that yet.
Yeah.
Sounds good to me.
And also, yeah, you know that your life was saved through like magical werewolf powers, even if it was just like the act of becoming a werewolf. So how come it didn't work for Jamie?
Well, now you know Jamie was already a werewolf.
Yeah,
Can't be a double werewolf. I mean, what are you going to be, a werewolf?
Have a human bite him.
It'd be so simple if, like, being bitten twice by a werewolf turns you from a werewolf back to human, and that fixes everything. But it doesn't work like that.
Cool. No, that sounds good. And the last thing I just wanted to check in before we get going. Sorry, I don't think I asked last time. Is so Kyle, Fran is obviously she is quite new to the pack, but what does she do sort of as her like occupation? Is is she at is she like in sixth form? Is she like finishing her education? Is she in university, or does she have a job? Has she left school? Where is she sort of at in terms of her?
I think she like works somewhere like at a shop or something.
Sure thing. That sounds good. So yeah, just to drill down that very, very broadly, is this kind of, does she work like at a shop in the village, in which case it's likely to be kind of like a greengrocer's or a, something like that, or does she work sort of in the city itself, where she might be like working in a department store or something like that?
I think in the city, in like a department store, sounds good.
Yeah, cool. Awesome. Thank you very much for that. Cool. So yes, with all that, we will head into where we find you all on the. As I said, this it's about the same time we're at now. It's like the beginning of the year, still quite wintry. You're out in the peaks. The sun is setting, but it's not yet set. You're all poised and ready to change and go out hunting. So the way in like just give a bit of backstory, as it were, on how this works. So once you're out in the peaks, you're technically no longer in your own territory, but this sort of area is kind of, at least most of it, isn't claimed by any one pack. It's kind of, because it's one of the few areas of like true wilderness in the area, it's kind of held in that sort of like almost like neutral zone, no man's land kind of position, I suppose. So you, if you come across other packs out hunting on this evening, because obviously it's quite a busy time for werewolves, being the full moon, you might like spar for territory in an abstract sense, but this isn't as serious as someone actually coming into your territory when it's your normal established territory. It's not like they're coming into your house. It's just a sort of like almost that like territory marking, scrapping is the sort of thing that might go on if you do encounter another pack. But other than that, you kind of have like effectively free range of the hillsides to track down game and generally run about under the light of the moon. So I think I'd just like to get each of you to just like give a brief overview of like how your characters are looking when they arrive this evening for the hunt, and how you kind of interact with one another. So I guess I'll ask, who do you think will be the first? Which of you thinks you will be the first to arrive out in the peaks this evening?
That's probably me.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got to set a good example for everybody, so I need to be not only on time, but early, so I'm the first one there, and everybody knows I am there already.
Yeah, that sounds good. So yeah, how does Garrett look when he sort of turns up to the peaks? Is he sort of, has he been walking? In which case, it's probably been an hour or so that he's had to walk out this way, or has he driven out there?
I've driven out there in a beater car, because one of the things that I learned from Logan is that you need to have a place to stash your clothes after you transform.
Yeah.
You can't just wear your clothes, because when you transform, you're going to tear the hell out of everything.
Yep.
You're going to have to walk back naked. So one of the things that I learned from him is somebody always has to drive out there so that everybody has a place to stash their clothes. You don't have to, you don't have to undress in front of each other or anything like that, but you have to have a place to put the clothes until you're done with the hunt.
Yeah.
So it's not a tradition he handed down to me. It's something I learned from watching him, from observing him.
Yeah, it's something much more practical. Yeah,
he was a sensible werewolf.
Exactly. Brilliant.
So, I've got a button-up shirt, I've got some slacks on, and I've got this killer pair of wingtips that people in
Nice.
Detroit might actually kill for.
Awesome.
And I'm leaning against the car, waiting, not checking my watch, just I'm having a smoke, waiting.
Excellent. So, which of you is next to arrive?
I think I would have driven there too, so probably me.
Cool. Yeah.
My car is also a beater. And yeah, I don't think I say anything when I get there. Just like stand and wait.
So yeah, I think there are just those few moments where it is just the two of you there out on the hillside. As I said, it's drizzling slightly. It's not like full on rain. It's just slightly damp in the air. Garrett, how do you respond to Joe's arrival?
Welcome. It's been some little while, hasn't it?
A little while yet. And I keep looking at the moon in a way that it's clear that I can't not look at it. Because I've been used to not turning into a wolf at the full moon, and that's taken a lot of effort. So it's I can't not think about the fact that the moon's there.
I take it you haven't been hunting when you were not with us.
Not at the moon, no. It's too dangerous. Been out a few times by myself, just on a random Wednesday night, but
just went for a run.
Yeah. Then not even really hunting. Chased a few rabbits. Didn't eat them.
I'm sure the rabbits were grateful for that.
Somebody might have noticed.
And besides, what are you going to do with a rabbit? It's barely a snack.
That's true.
And it'd be like getting a bag of crisps and eating exactly one. And then saying you're full.
Yeah, and maybe that's why I didn't do it, because it would have been harder to resist the next one and the next one, and the next thing you know, you're going out to farms and
that or
tearing
your
up
face
people's sheep.
That or your face deep in somebody's chest cavity, or
Yep.
That's why we do. Well, this, you were with us before. That's why we do this. Get those urges out. Let them loose in as careful and as controlled an environment as we can possibly get.
I think I'm gonna call this here because I like to call this one early. I think it sounds like Joe was spilling what she was afraid of there to Garrett, that she's afraid of losing control. If that sounds fair.
I think that does sound fair, but that's
Sounds
fair to me, not Joe.
that sounds reasonable. That's I don't think that's a thing that she would have just told anybody, easily. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, you add one to the pack pool, which is on the pack tab. I mean, it should, if I remember to clear it off, be at 0 at the minute. Yeah, so you can add one to the pack pool. And Garrett, you will take one tie over Joe.
Sure. Done.
Cool. Awesome. And I think at this point, Terry Davenport will have turned up. He has, I think he's actually walked out. You can tell he's like the shins of his like work trousers are spattered with mud. As he comes in, he'll kind of tip his cap and mumble a vague greeting and then I will ask Fran, how are you getting it? What does it look like when you arrive?
I think I'm showing up with Sarah Turner, because I'm
Cool.
sticking with her. So I don't know if she would drive in or if we would walk in together.
Yeah, I think she has a car, and if like the other cars people have turned up in are like beaters, this is, it's in fairly good condition, but this is like old. It's not quite a Model T, but it's kind of an old Morris Minor or something like that. This is she's probably had this car for like 20 years, sort of thing. It's it's in fact maybe even possibly more than 20 years. It's probably like a sort of almost like pre-war, maybe just post-war car. But it still runs, and she keeps it in good condition as she sort of drives out, and she sort of turns to you as she sort of pulls up and like cranks on the handbrake. She says, "Now, love, when this is your this will be your first time, won't it?"
That's right. Yeah.
Now you're to do what Garrett tells you. He's alpha and he's in charge. That's how this thing works. And he's a good lad, but he won't necessarily be kind when he tells you to do stuff. But you have to listen to him, and that's how it goes. But he's a good lad, really. But alpha is alpha. You have to be in charge. You have to be the boss, and you'll do well to remember that. Can I trust you to do that, lass?
Yeah, I can do that.
Good. And she'll kind of like pat your shoulder and like open the I was gonna say under a seatbelt, but she's probably not wearing a seatbelt. It's the 70s, and opens the her door and gets out. She's sort of she's probably already like she's had like one of those like a handkerchief, a neckerchief sort of thing on over her like perm as she's been like driving stuff, but she will start to like undo that and take it off and like fold up the neckerchief carefully and put it into the glove compartment in the car as she sort of gets out and again waves her greetings to everyone who's already there.
Sarah, Franny, nice of you to join us.
Hello, Mr. Heath.
Fran, you've seen me out. You've never called me Mr. Heath before. It's Garrett.
Well, it's like official now.
Right. In that case, let's make it official. Fran, call me Garrett.
All right, Garrett.
Anybody seen or heard from Jax?
And Terry will just sort of grunt and say, I'm sure he's found better things to do this evening. He usually does.
I look at my watch and I look at the moon. All right, we're getting pretty close to start time. Joe, you remember how this goes?
It's hard to forget.
Fran, I don't know if Sarah told you on the drive in, but one of the things that Logan taught us to do was to not being a creep here. Go off by yourself and figure out a way to do it, but we always undress before we transform so we don't tear our clothes to hell.
Yeah, I heard about that part. That'll be great.
It's not gonna lie, it's a little weird the first couple of times. You get used to it. But it's better that than going home in clothes that look like you've been attacked by a pack of raccoons or whatever, badgers, whatnot. And it's awkward, but it's better than the alternative. Tonight, we're going to take down one deer. Just one. It's all we need is a pack. You know, the point is, we wolf out, we do the hunt, but we don't want to make it look too bad, too violent. We clean up our mess. And then, back in the, well, not the real world, the rest of the world, I guess you could call it. We're going to go on about our daily business. Any questions from anybody? All right. Let's do this one for Logan.
Oh.
The night is full of love. Time, my darling, is standing still. Tonight, my love, I believe that we are the only two people in the world. Oh, by the way, did you bring your guitar? All I want is moonlight, music, and you in my arms. All I want is moonlight, music, and all of your charms. I want to put all my troubles away. In your arms, I want to stay.
So I said, I think this will be the point at which Jax arrives, and I said everyone is kind of is obviously gathered round Garrett, like he's obviously talking to them all. So specifically at the moment seems to be focused in on Fran, whose first night this is, or first hunt this is. How does Jax arrive on the scene? Most of the others have driven out here, with the exception of Terry, who walked. But how does Jax get? This is like a little bit out of town, up in the hillside.
I think Jax is just racing on a bike as fast as he can, knowing he's arriving late.
Awesome. So yeah, and I think Jack sort of pulls up to the appointed meeting spot on his bike, as sort of Garrett's just sort of finished delivering his instructions to the rest of the pack.
Jax, nice of you to join us.
Yeah, sorry. I thought I could borrow a car and get here a little sooner, but yeah, it didn't work out, and I was here as soon as I could.
No, throw your bike in the back of my car. No, we'll keep it safe. I'll give you a ride back when we're done.
Jax, next time, let me know. I got a car.
Yeah, just yeah, sorry. Just things took longer than I thought they would.
Shit happens. You're here. That's what counts. All right. Everybody go ahead and walk away if you need to. Strip down, get your clothes someplace safe. And we'll get started. I check my watch again and I look at the moonrise again. It's just about time.
Yeah, and the light has got much dimmer now. The sun is sort of dropping down below the hillside, and the moon is piercing through the sort of like cloudy sky. And yeah, so as I mentioned previously, you can essentially turning into your wolf form is broadly speaking, is a cosmetic function. You can just turn into your sort of wolf form, and that's fine. You are now in wolf form. You can, at that point, claw and bite at things. You obviously, when you're in wolf form, you can't speak to people, though obviously within your cells, you'll be able to communicate. You probably can't, like debate Wittgenstein or what have you, but you can certainly make your thoughts and plans and emotions in particular very apparent in your wolf forms. You have that sort of level of communication. So that's fine. You can all just turn into your wolf form if you want. You do, however, have the option, if you so choose, to use the given to the wolf roll, which is a roll with feral. If you do this, on a hit, you basically get to choose some from a list of options that essentially make you more powerful, as it were, in your wolf form. This includes like doing more damage with your bite and claws, having higher armor, as well as being able to switch your stats between heart and guts to teeth and feral if you so wish. So that's an option you have to you. The downside to this is if you miss on that roll, then the wolf takes over and you do something bad. You essentially lose control, and I will determine what you did whilst you weren't in control. You are not required to make this roll, but if you choose to make this roll as you transform, you can do so.
I want to.
Sure thing. So go ahead, Joe, and roll, as I said, with feral for this.
Feral, which is a 0 for me, I think. Let me see. Yeah, it's 0. And that is a 6. Yay. Let's start out this game the right way by failing a roll.
Excellent. We'll come back to that in a moment. So does anyone else want to roll to give in to the wolf as you transform?
I think I will.
Sure thing. So yeah, once again, that's a roll with feral.
Oh, I got a 12.
Perfect. So you get to choose 2 from that list. So the options, as I said, you can essentially you can reduce your heart and or guts by up to 2, to increase your teeth and or feral by up to 2. And that's, you can take -2 off of 1 and +2 to 1, or -1 plus 1 to 2, whichever way you want to do it. The only restrictions are that you can't go above a +3 in your stat, and once you come out of wolf form, those will revert back to your normal ratings. You can also increase the harm you do with your bite and claws. You can gain some armor. You can add 2 to the pack pool, or when you come back from being in wolf form, you can heal an additional point of harm. And yeah, you can choose whichever 2 of those you would like.
I'm going to contribute to the pack pool and take some armor.
Sure thing. Okay, is anyone else going to give in to the wolf? Cool. I will take that as a no. So, Garrett, are you going to be? Well, I'm asking this. I presume that you are going to be leading the hunt this evening.
You know, it's Joe's first hunt back. I want to see what she's going to do. Because that's the sort of thing that a calculating wolf would do. See what a returning member has learned while away from the pack.
Yeah, sure thing. So, Joe will, when you kind of give the signal for the thing to begin. But it's probably a howl, I would imagine. Joe, in her wolf form, will race off across the hillside. And I said it is quite steep, quite rocky here. But you're fast, you're used to this sort of thing. You will make your way across the hillside without too much difficulty. And you can all scent prey in the air. There's maybe some probably is some like deer trails you can scent off in the distance, and as you're racing through, you will pass a field that's been marked off with dry stone wall on the hillside, and there are clearly a flock of sheep hunkered down under the shade of a tree from the drizzle, or clustered together. And as you are running past this, Joe lets out a snarl and leaps the dry stone wall and just charges into the middle of this flock of sheep and starts tearing and just goes into them like a chainsaw, essentially, before they start coming awake and kind of bleating and running away.
I'm going to charge into her with the shoulder block, try to knock her away from the sheep. This is way too noticeable. This is going to be this is not keeping us under the radar.
Excellent. So that sounds to me, I will get you to make a mauling roll. That is essentially the roll for general physical confrontations. So that's a roll with teeth.
That's an 8.
That's an 8. Okay, so on an 8, you get to choose one from the following list. which is for the first time I'll read through these all. The first one is you deal -1 harm. You take -1 harm. You deal +1 harm. You discern your opponent's next move. You knock someone out. You impress or intimidate somebody. And the final one is you do not take -1 forward on your next give in to the wolf move. But by default, the two of you will do 2 harm to each other because that's the the harm you do as werewolves, essentially, with your bites and your claws. And at this point, Joe probably will be fighting back against you because she is not fully in control of herself and is just given into her sort of animal rage. But yeah, you get to choose one of those options from the list.
Well, I'm going to go for intimidating.
Yep, that's cool. That will work to as you knock Joe to the ground and probably put paws either side of her and sort of glare down at her.
Now,
that is going to be enough to snap Joe out of the frenzy, essentially, that she was in. So, Joe, how do you react? You kind of your memories of what's just happened are probably a little bit fuzzy, but they're not. You're still you're compartmented, sort of thing. You know what's going on.
Right. Yeah. And we're in a pasture full of sheep here. I think I figured it out. I think I think I just kind of slink back over the fence and run after the others.
Cool.
Now, David, where do we mark harm? Because there's a lot of different harm.
Oh yeah.
Yes. So I'll explain this briefly. You will notice that there are essentially, there are 4 rows of harm. The first one is called improving. The next one is called stable. The third one is called worsening, and then I believe the fourth one, wolf. So the way this works is when you have harm that is in the improving level, that will get better with time. You will slowly heal that up just through like rest and recuperation. If your harm goes into the stable level, then that's fine. You will need healing to recover that, but it will just sit there essentially until you get some healing. If you go into the worsening level, then you're unless you get stabilized, you will continue to lose health over an amount of time, and you will eventually die without medical intervention. If you max out the worsening level, then you die. However, when you go into your wolf form, you gain an additional, you can take an additional 2 harm before you die. So as it is in a minute, the both of you will mark 2 harm in the improving level. Also, as a to make you both aware, when you come out of your wolf form, you will heal 2 harm. That always happens. The only exception to that is you can't if say you've taken 4 harm, you can't flip backwards and forwards between human and wolf form to heal all of that. You can only essentially, if you've taken harm, when you switch back from wolf form, you heal 2 of it, and then the rest of that harm cannot be healed through transformation. If you then transform into your wolf form again and take 2 more harm, those 2 points of harm you can heal when you turn back into human form, but you can't heal any remaining harm you already had. At the minute, the both of you are both kind of banged and scraped up a little bit, but unless you take any more harm this evening, when you turn back into human form, all of that will
How bad is the flock of sheep?
Probably a few of them are a few of them have been killed. Maybe 3 or 4 have been either killed or have or otherwise not going to make it through the night. Put it that way.
God damn it. That's going to be noticeable. Right. On with the hunt.
Cool. So I'm going to ask Fran, how do you react to this? What's your you're obviously you're still in your wolf form at the minute, so you can kind of both you could obviously smell the blood on the air when Joe ran into the flock, but also kind of there's that you can sense that the threat that Garrett put down, the control that Garrett exerted over Joe. What's your how are you feeling? What's your sort of reaction to all of this? Sorry, to say Garrett. I did say Garrett. Yeah, but yeah. Sorry, yeah, Fran. How's your reaction to all this?
Kind of overwhelmed. Like, this got it a little out of control a lot faster. I'm probably hanging back a bit while this is all going down.
Yeah, and I think kind of Sarah is kind of nuzzling up against you and letting out kind of a low, keening sound. It's kind of like, currently, at least to you, it's it does feel like a little like calming, and it's maybe taking the edge off of the fact you're a bit spooked. And Jax, how do you react to this?
Yeah, I think Jack sees this as a confirmation that like staying away from these hunts is a bad idea. When you come back after being gone for a while, you lose control right away. It's like, oh, okay, because Jack does consider like is keeping with the pack really worth it, and this kind of confirmation, like, oh yeah, okay, yep, there are reasons not to go away. Stick with the monthly hunt. Keeps your head straight.
Awesome. Cool. And Garrett, what's your sort of next instruction to the pack, or what do you do next?
I'm going to chuff, let out a low growl, not a threatening one, just a kind of growl that says, right, back to it then. And I'm going to start loping off, see if I can scent a deer and start tracking it.
Excellent. So what I'll ask you to do now, just to get some of these moves out on the table, is if you would like to roll to harness the wolf, which is so when you use your wolf senses and instincts in either human or wolf form to find someone, something, or find out information, roll with heart. And I will keep getting that wrong because because of the typo that I ran with for a very long time. So if you would like to roll with heart for me, please, Packet, and we'll see how this goes.
That's a 7.
That's a 7. So on a 7, you get to ask one from the following list. Again, for the first time, I will spiel all of this off for you. I probably won't do this every time because there's a lot of them. The first question is, who is the weakest here? Second is, where is the trail? Where is my prey? Third is, what is the strongest emotion in this location? Fourth is, what do they really want? Fifth is, what is the biggest threat to the pack? Sixth is, what smells wrong here? Seventh is, who or what is dominant in this situation? Then it's, where is the escape route / route through? And finally, where does the pack need to be? So which of those would you like to ask?
Well, if I'd rolled a 10, there's a lot, but
yes,
I can only ask one. Where is our prey?
Yeah, and yet you will, even over the scent of blood and fear emanating from the flock, you will be able to pick up the trail you were originally following, the scent of a buck headed up a trail around the hillside into sort of a wooded thicket ahead of you, and you can lead the the pack into this thicket without any difficulty. So yeah, I guess so. So essentially, what will happen is you will like I said, you will be able to make your way across the hillside and into the thicket after this trail for the deer. But I'd just like to get just a brief vignette from each of you as you cross the hillside and sort of hunt down this deer, of sort of what you're doing, how you look, what's going on with you all, essentially. So Jax, I'll start with you if that's okay.
Sure. What exactly do you need from me?
Sorry, I was muted. Yeah, so just a sort of just a little description of like as you're kind of stalking off across the hillside into the woods after this deer.
What would Jax be doing in particular? I think Jax is really just, well, yeah, I think he's mainly just watching Garrett and just following his lead, since he kind of just is taking charge. So yeah, he's mostly just letting him lead and just following him.
Awesome, that's brilliant. Thank you. And Bethany, how is Joe looking following her?
Very very controlled now. Like like as she's starting to get get more control back. Like she's just seizing it. So like head down, move forward, like pay no attention to anything side to side, like just do the thing, get it done with.
Awesome. And Fran, how about you? How are you dealing with the whole hunt?
I think I'm having fun, but I'm staying away from the more hunty parts. I think it's like my first chance to really cut loose as a wolf, so I'm doing a lot of like sniffing and running around and stuff, but less focused on getting in like an actual like bite and stuff.
Awesome. Yeah, and finally, Garrett, how does it look when you finally manage to sort of like lead the pack to the successful conclusion of this hunt?
I've just had my nose on the trail, sniffing, trying to make sure that I know exactly where this deer is. The trail's kind of wafting and winding through the trees. And we emerge upon a small clearing in this wooded area where the moon is shining down through the trees. And this deer has stopped to have a snack, which is, it's reassuring because I always feel bad when I have to take down something that hasn't eaten.
Awesome, thank you. And yeah, you will take down the deer without any difficulty. It's it's kind of what you do as wolves. And you'll take down the deer, and you will all kind of eat together. As you are kind of eating, as you're sort of finishing off eating, you'll kind of be aware of the scent, as distracted as you are. But there are clearly more wolves coming your direction. They've probably scented the deer as well, but they did not get here as quickly as you.
Are these werewolves or just regular wolves?
These are werewolves. Yes. You
right.
can tell from.
I want to roll to harness my wolf powers.
Go for it. Yep.
Okay, that's an 8.
Okay, cool. So once again, you get to ask one of the questions off that list.
What's the escape route?
So yeah, they seem to be coming. They seem to be coming from, if not quite the opposite direction from which you came, close enough that they're coming from sort of from the other side of this clearing, essentially. I don't think that you can tell they're not like fanning out to surround you or anything like that. You think they are coming towards a clearing you're in, and the extraction, they almost certainly know that you lot are here now, and they are still coming towards you. But like I said, they're not. It doesn't look like they're trying to cut off your escape routes or anything like that. So if you wish to leave, then you could just basically head back the way you come, and at that point it would be a chase over more or less open ground that you're fairly safe. You could keep pace on them over that distance.
What time is it?
It's probably by this point. It's probably later in the evening. The moon's not quite at its height. It's not quite midnight, but it's definitely sort of getting that way.
So it'll take us 2-3 hours to get back to the car.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. You've got plenty of time still. It's not like especially at this time of year, there's not a huge time constraint on you doing so.
I bark at Jax real quick because I want to see what he thinks about this. Do we run? Do we stay and eat and fight?
I think I want to harness the wolf, see if I can tell what the intentions of this other pack is.
Yeah, go for it.
8 plus
plus heart.
That's a 10.
A 10.
Nice.
So you get to
Okay.
ask 3 questions off of the list.
What do they really want?
They want to test you. They're obviously aware that by this point it will be abundantly obvious to you. They will know that you have taken down this deer. The scent of it is clear in the air. The fact that they're still coming for you, it probably means that they want to maybe either see if you back down and leave the kill to them, which would be essentially like a sign of submission, or if you stand up and fight for it. Essentially, they want to test you.
Who is dominant in this situation?
So I'll answer this 2 ways. In terms of like the relative strength of your pack, it's much of a muchness. It could go either way. They're not overwhelmingly more powerful than you. They're not significantly weaker than you. They're relatively well matched against you. In terms of like who is dominant on their side, you will pick up and it's actually someone you probably have encountered before. She is local-ish. At least she certainly comes up here for the full moon and the like. But you know her as Josie de Montfort. She is the alpha of another werewolf pack, who are known colloquially as the Sloane Street Runners. They are actually a broadly London-based werewolf pack. It's your knowledge of them is that they are almost like a gentleman's club. It's a sort of secret society. Not a secret society is probably putting airs on it, but it's a they are quite connected and powerful people in the city. And Josie herself, her family essentially own an estate out on the edges of the Peak District, and they come up here for hunting.
What's the biggest threat to the pack?
The biggest threat to the pack is a loss of face, essentially. You can tell again if they were angry and like out for blood, you would be able to scent that on them. They're not. They probably don't want to like. They're not here to like kill or settle scores or anything like that. But if they were to beat you here or drive you off, it would make the pack look weak to other wolves, essentially.
Okay. I'll kind of point out. Looks like Josie's still alpha. Those poodles. You can see her there. I don't think she's really looking for a fight.
Right. You stay and eat. That's what you're saying? All right. Jax, come with me. We're going to set up in a semi-concealed location. because they can smell us. They know that there's a smell of blood. They know there's a deer down. They know there's already a pack there. Maybe, just maybe, we can get the jump on them.
All right.
Cool. So, yeah, I think as you yeah, actually, I think I'm going to I think actually I'll have you roll this as an act on instinct, which is a roll with feral. Which is when you use your superhuman abilities or act under a threat. Yeah, you know, you'll probably be able to conceal yourselves easily enough. And like I said, they're not coming in armed for bear, as it were. They're not sort of running in teeth and fangs going, but there is still danger here. You know, when two werewolf packs get into it, it's never even if it's a relatively friendly engagement, it's never without risk. So yeah, if you would like to make me a roll with feral, please.
I mean, I wouldn't like to, but I'll do it.
Yeah.
Can he take the +1 forward from my question?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
I
think that's fair.
Actually, do I not get a +1 forward?
Yes, you will actually, because it's the same.
So that makes it +2.
That's true.
Yeah.
I forgot we both harnessed the wolf.
All right. That's a 9.
A 9, excellent. If you wish, you can spend, because there are at least two of you acting in concert, and you are working like within the grounds of the odds of the alpha and the traditions of the pack. You can spend 1 point of pack to bump that to a 10 if you wish.
Yeah, it seems worthwhile.
Yeah, sure thing. So yeah, I did sort of allude to this before, but yeah, essentially, pack pool can be spent on a 1-for-1 basis up to 3 points. You can't spend more than 3 points in one go to give a +1 to +3 to a roll. The only restrictions then is there have to be at least two of you working together. You have to be working in as a team, essentially. And yeah, as I said, you have to be doing something that's either following the alpha's orders or wishes, and is within the within the restrictions of your traditions. So you can't use it to basically you can't use pack pool when you're acting against what the pack, as defined by the organization of it, defines as being a good thing. But yes, so with a 10 plus on a on the act on instinct, you will do it. So describe how you succeed. And also you can give it a little flourish. You can kind of get a little bit extra on it. And also you will actually gain your 1 point of pack pool back. So that's a very good investment there. So yeah, and I think this will cover basically you being able to like execute kind of an ambush to the whatever extent you wish to ambush the pack as they come in.
Oh, it's a very simple extent. Jackson and I are both in some undergrowth as they come in. I jump on the alpha, tackle her, put my teeth on her throat as Jax is growling at the rest of the pack. And I say, do I need to bite, or are you going to leave quietly?
We're wolves, not jackals. We don't care.
And why are you acting like hyenas and coming to the site where we made our kill?
Just to see you, Garrett. It has been a while. But she will kind of she will kind of drop her head in that way that you know that she is not making an issue of this. She's not going to try and she knows that you have her at an advantage.
There are telephones. We could meet and have a meal, or drink some coffee, or get some fish and chips.
What can I say? I like the more personal touch. And I think she kind of will flick her tail at you and say, but nevertheless, you have made your kill. And she will kind of like glance over at it, and you get that feeling that there's you get that moment of tension where it's obvious that she's like she wants to kind of disparage the quality of the deer that you've taken down, but at the same time she's aware that you have her bettered. So you kind of see that kind of moment of like just her sagging back down again and saying, well, I suppose we shall have to find another prey for this evening.
Well, there are a few sheep up the way. They've been dead for a while, though.
We will find something more worthy of our endeavors, I'm sure.
Of course. But please, don't let it be so long since we see each other. I do so miss our social engagements.
Very well. Perhaps we shall speak again soon. Goodbye,
I'd love to.
Garrett, and
I'll open my mouth and let her loose and watch her walk off.
yeah. And like, the rest of her pack are doing that sort of thing where they're obviously like doing the utmost to show that we'd absolutely come for you and rip you apart if you did anything, but we're not going to because that's not how this is going, sort of thing. And as she sort of gets back to them, they all sort of like start slinking off. She will kind of let out another howl of like essentially the kind of
face saving. How?
Well, it's more sort of just the kind of like the beginning of hunt howl. It's like we're off to find new quarry sort of thing, and the pack will lope off after her into the moonlight.
Good work, Jax. You get the heart.
Awesome. Cool. So we're just coming up to the hour again, so I think we're going to take a 5-minute break there. We'll probably kind of wrap up the hunt after this. I think you've kind of achieved what you set out to do. We'll maybe get that sort of moment as you all come back to yourselves again as the in the morning, and then we'll roll into sort of seeing you maybe back in town. But yeah, as I said, we'll take about 5 minutes. So yeah, so you're about 5 past. Happens. Cool. So yeah, I think we'll probably cut back to just a short scene. Oh, actually no, the one thing I will do first, I will just I actually meant to make a note of these and then entirely failed to do so. like the I mean, it was a fairly extended scene, I will admit, that we've done so far, but I'll go through in reverse order this time. So Garrett, do you think that you either hit any of your heartbeats or what's the other word I'm looking for, or kind of hit any of the pack traditions on sort of on the scene we've just done?
I think I had all of them. As for the pack traditions,
I mean, in fairness, the pack traditions is going to be a fairly pack. I should say pack culture rather than pack traditions.
yeah,
because you are all on the hunt, so
yeah, that and poodles.
Yep.
Yeah, I think yeah. Short version is yeah.
Yep. So feel free to. I think you can probably mark either 2 in your wolf path or 1 in human and 1 in wolf. I think you probably did some. I think you probably at least hit the idea of controlled in or calculating when you're in human form.
Yeah.
Still.
I'll split them. So I'll go for 1 and 1.
Yep, that sounds good. So Fran, how about you? Again, you obviously you can definitely mark 1 in wolf path from the culture, if nothing else. Do you think you hit any of your heartbeats in that scene?
I think, yeah, I guess how it was playful. So yeah, I'll take a heartbeat for that.
Cool. Yep. And yeah, I said you can mark one in the wolf path for just for the hunt in general, because it's part of your culture. So I think that's cool. And Joe, how about you? Do you feel like you've hit any of your heartbeats in that scene?
No, not really. Like
I'd argue that you may be in that right at the very beginning when you were confessing about your concerns about being in control or not.
Oh yeah.
So that probably hits unsure on your human path.
Yeah, I think so. That's right.
And once again, you can definitely mark 1 on the wolf path for going on the hunt. Jax, how about you? Do you think you've hit any of your heartbeats, particularly in that scene that's just gone?
I don't think so. Not really.
I'd actually maybe say that you could probably argue connected for knowing who the other pack was.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, that sort of played into the idea that you kind of have this like, you know what's going on in the area sort of thing.
That's true. I was thinking of connected is more in his like human ties, but yeah, it could also be his in the werewolf role too. I wasn't thinking of it that way, but yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think you can probably mark 2 on the wolf path for that. And as I say, in general, like I said, I will try and keep up on doing little check-ins like this with you, but I may well forget. So if, like I said, if you feel like you have hit your any of the XP triggers any point in the scene, do feel free to mark that off as appropriate. Like I said, I trust you all to like play into the spirit of the game sort of thing, and that's what the XP is there for essentially. So like I said, I will try and do these little check-ins, but I will inevitably forget because I'm really bad at keeping track of things like this. So do keep that in mind. But yeah, so I think I'd just like to see maybe just a little scene from each of you as you're kind of turning back into your, or well, say from each of you, or possibly like a little scene with you with someone else in the aftermath of this hunt, if you wish to talk to anyone, as you're sort of coming back down and coming into human form after the kind of exhilaration of the hunt. By this point, it will probably, the sun will be coming up You've maybe like slept together out on the out in the peaks in your sort of wolf forms. But now the sun is starting to rise, and it's sort of time for you to get back to the your normal selves, or your human selves, at any rate, I should say. Does anyone have a scene they want to sort of frame up first?
I definitely would like Jax to approach Joe for a conversation. So Joe, kind of been a while since you've been back with us on these hunts, I guess. Oh, you're muted.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted and the screen did something. I couldn't find the unmute. Yeah, been a while.
How you feeling about how things started there? A little bit of a rough start.
Not great.
And I'm trying to provoke you to spill.
Right. Yeah. And I'm not. I'm trying to avoid spilling, I think, because yep, just don't know what to do about this right now.
Cool. Yeah, excellent. So, Jax, if you would like to roll with heart to provoke spill, and we'll see how it goes.
That's a 10.
That's a 10. Okay, yeah, that is quite straightforward then. So, on a 10 up on provoke spill, you have to make the spill move there, Joe. You can still choose what you want to spill about, but you do have to
Okay.
answer one of those questions, essentially.
Cool. What are those questions?
So they are. You either basically have to openly and truthfully express your desire for a pack mate, why you are hurting, what you are angry about, or what you are afraid of. Those are your 4 options.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I thought, I don't know what I was thinking. Maybe I've been gone too long. Maybe I can't do this anymore without just losing control. Maybe I just should go back to being human full time.
No, you just pent it up too long. You'll see next month. You'll be right back at it.
Yeah, if I don't do anything to get the hunters after us.
What? Because of a couple of sheep?
Yeah.
I mean, that could have been some dog that got loose. That stuff happens all the time.
We will just get that brief cutaway scene to a sort of middle-aged man he's got like an old tweed suit on with a big long wax jacket over it, a shotgun broken under his arm, just peering down at the bodies of the sheep in the field. And you just sort of see him like sniffing the air and then spitting down into the grass. And then we cut back to the conversation going on.
I mean, if they're hunting for dogs and they find wolves, I don't think they're going to not shoot us.
Well, We're a lot smarter than,
Dogs.
some
maybe.
dog or wolf. We'll be all right.
Let's not run past the sheep farm next time, huh?
It's probably the plan, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, and mechanically for that spill move, you get to add an additional point of pack pool. And Jax, you will take a tie on Joe. And just because I can't remember if I mentioned it before, but the way ties work, they work in a similar way to the pack pool in that you can spend points of tie to add to a roll that you are taking against that person, and that is not bound by the whole having to be working in the interest of the pack or whatever. That is purely a personal thing. If the move targets the person, you can spend tie that you have on it. Again, like with pack pool, you can spend that after the roll has taken place. You don't have to spend it up front. And like I said, if you would go up to having 4 ties, you instead mark a point of XP and your ties revert back down to 1 again. So that's how that works.
Question for you, David, about pack pool.
Yep, certainly.
Does that carry over from session to session?
It does. Yep, that remains at the level it's at from session to session. Yeah, it only goes down when you spend from it.
I'm asking because I have the We Are Pack move, and I don't know that it was necessarily a stirring speech before the common endeavor, but we talked about the purpose and the plan. Nobody disagreed with it. Everybody obeyed it. And
that sounds good. Yeah, sorry, I should have been paying attention to that. Yes, that's right.
Okay.
I think that counted for
right. So we're adding 3 to the pack pool from that.
Nice.
And then, do you want to do that, or do I need to do that?
You can do that. Yep, that's fine.
Okay. Got it.
Awesome. Cool. So yeah, Fran, would you like to have a little scene as you're kind of the next morning after the hunt before everyone heads back into town?
I'm open to one. I don't. There's no idea jumping out for me. So I think we can just cut to the next scene.
Yeah, sure thing. If you go with that, and Garrett, anything you would like to do before you head back into town?
Just kind of gather everybody together. It was a good hunt. We brought down a deer. We ate together. We ran together. We howled. We all made it back. It was a good night. Thank you all. And Joe, a moment before you head back.
Yep.
I'm going to wait until everybody else is in their cars and leaving. I know I said I'd give Terry and Jax a ride back, but maybe Sarah was able to give them a ride back.
Yeah, she'll give them a lift back.
I'm going to break pack tradition here for a second, Joe. Look me in the eyes.
Yeah, I know.
It could have happened to any of us.
But it didn't.
Don't beat yourself up. We've all been there. These are not the first sheep that have died on a hunt. They're just the first sheep that died on a hunt under my watch, but this is also the first hunt that I've been in charge of. So at least I got that out of the way, right?
We're both starting off great, aren't we?
Well, we're starting. Doesn't mean we're ending. We're all on our journeys, you know this.
Yeah, I just, I went away to not endanger the pack, and the first goddamn thing I do when I get back is something that could draw attention to the pack.
Like I said, it could have been any of us, and I think we've all been there. I know I have. I mean, after I got turned, there were more than a few nights that Logan had to turn around the next morning and go set a fire someplace to conceal bodies. Now, they're far enough back that I don't think I've got time to do that. But don't beat yourself up over this. And I mean it. Welcome back. We've missed you.
Thanks. I appreciate that.
And the only reason I didn't say this in front of the pack is because I know you can be kind of private. This is... Don't even sweat it. We're good.
All right. Let's
get some sleep.
Let's stay away from the sheep farm next time, huh?
Yeah, that too. We can stay away from the sheep farm next time around. Now, I need to go get breakfast or sleep, and I'm not sure in which order. Probably both. Maybe at the same time.
Just don't fall asleep in your breakfast.
I mean, I guess that's how the expression "getting egg on your face" came about.
Yeah, probably. I always thought, people throwing eggs. I don't know. It's a stupid saying.
That makes sense. It's like people throwing eggs at each other. It's good to have you back.
It's good to be back.
All right. I'm going to head out. I'm going to do something. I'm at least going to drive home. So you take care of yourself.
It's a good start. Yeah. All right. You too. Yeah. And I get in the car, and on the way out, I take the long way and drive past the sheep farm and kind of just see if I see anything going on.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead and roll me to so I always confuse the names of the two words. To harness the wolf. That's a roll with heart, as you kind of
Cool. And my heart is 0. Excellent. So that's a 4.
Excellent. So I think we might come back to you in a moment. So I'm just going to ask. Fran, is there once everyone's back in town and so if you've got back into your day-to-day routine, is there a scene that you would like to have or something you would like to do?
Nothing's sleeping out right now.
Cool. And I'll ask the same question to name's Jax. Is there anything you want to do particularly at the moment?
No, nothing in particular.
Cool. Okay, so I think we'll go briefly to a scene with Fran, and you are working. You're working, I said, in this department store. What department do you think you work in? What's are you on the makeup counter or in the clothing department, or
Clothing, I think. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I think you are, in, you're like putting some clothes back on hangers and stuff in the, in the department store, when a guy comes up. You recognize him. He is, his name is, I've got it written down here, Liam Wainwright. He works out the pit in the like in the tool shop, essentially. So he kind of maintains the equipment and stuff rather than actually going down mining himself. You, however, know him more from the fact that he was the guy who sold you the pills that put you in the hospital. Whether you're aware of that or not, whether you're aware that that's what happened, I don't know how much of your memory about that you still have, but he's clearly not just browsing here, but he will sort of come up to you and say, "Oh, Fran, how are you doing? I've not seen you for a couple of weeks."
Doing all right. Had a rough night that last time we met. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard that you had to go into hospital. I'm sorry about that. I didn't mean to. Well, I mean, obviously, I didn't mean to do that. I would have come visiting, but it hardly seemed like it was appropriate.
Just think you can be more careful with your product is all.
Yeah, maybe. My brother sent up, and like usually, I've not had anything like this before, so I'm sorry for what happened to you, but I just wanted to check you were still doing okay. That's all.
Yeah, I'm alive. I'm all right.
Cool. Well, if you are if you're out again one evening, it would be nice to catch up and have a dance or whatever.
I'll keep that in mind.
Cool. And I think with that, unless there's anything else you want from him, he's going to kind of look a bit awkward and kind of head back out of the certainly at least out of the part of the store that you're in, and goes about whatever he was doing before he came in here. Awesome. So I think we'll cut back over to Joe, and I think as you kind of slow down to kind of give the farm a sort of look over, there is just that moment where we just hear kind of a mechanical sound from the car engine, and it shudders to a halt. You kind of do the turning the key and the engine's not properly turning over.
Great.
Yes, I think, like I said, you track up what the car isn't starting, and you will notice a man walking up the path, up the sort of the drive to this farmhouse. We will recognize him as at the moment we saw moments ago, but he's like a quite tall, quite broad guy, in his 40s. His hair he's either bald or at least it's shaved, but that's mostly hidden under the fact he's got the flat cap on. He's got like this tweed suit and a long wax jacket. He's carrying a shotgun. That said, currently broken under his elbow. He's coming up the path, and he definitely seems to be heading in your direction. You're seeing sort of your car parked out there, or at least stopped out there.
Yeah. So I have a question. Are we like extra strong as humans, or only when we're actually in wolf form?
So that is kind of where the I'll go back to it. The if you want to, so there's kind of two answers to that. One of them is obviously not specifically physical strength, but you can use harness the wolf when you're in human form. That's fine. You can also use act on instinct if you try and use your superhuman abilities, or act under a threat, and you can again do that in human form. So you're not, as a human, as a human you're probably like strong in the sense of someone who works out quite a bit, because obviously with your whole wolf thing and the whole wolf metabolism, you're quite strong, but not like superhumanly so. But if you wish to use like superhuman strength or something similar, then that's the act on instinct move.
Okay, no, I deliberately don't want to use superhuman strength there. I get out of the car and like make to push it off the road to the side. But I'm like deliberately, like, I saw him coming and I don't want to. I just wondered how much I have to fake not being able to do it, or whether I really can't do it.
No. So I mean, you're unless you're pushing it in your human form, you are, like I said, quite possibly a fairly strong and fit human, but
right. Okay, so like it's probably moving, but very, very. I'm not just like easily shoving it one-handed off the side of the road. Okay,
no,
cool.
No, it's probably easier because it's you've got a 50-50 chance of it being down a hill, so it's probably easy-ish in that sense. But yeah,
right. Okay, so I'm acting like I'm a normal human because I am.
Yeah, sure.
Or in this sense. Okay. In fact, maybe a little weaker than I actually am. Like I think I'm trying to look like this is harder than even harder than it is, because the last thing I want to do is draw suspicion.
Yeah. And he is he walks up to you and kind of tugs on the peak of his cap, and says, "Well, lass, you seem to be having a little bit of problem here. Is there anything I can do to help out?"
It's the gas gauge in this thing's been broken for years. You would think I would learn by now. If you got a spare half gallon of fuel, I appreciate it.
And he kind of looks you up and down and glances to the car and says, "I'll go and fetch my car and I'll see what I can do for you. I can, if all else fails, I can probably tow you into town." And he will head back down the drive a little way. And a few moments later, he'll drive back in an old battered Land Rover. It's clearly a working Land Rover. It is like covered in mud. There's all sorts of like bits and pieces, like obviously in the back of it and up on the sort of the roof rack. And he will pull out like a jerry can of petrol and pour some into the car. And they'll say, "What brings you out here on a morning like this? It's a bit remote, isn't it, for you?"
Yeah, I got up early this morning and thought I'd go a little out of my way on my way to work. It's been a while since I've seen anything but buildings and streets. Should have maybe thought about the gas situation beforehand, but this is really nice of you. Thanks. It's the gun for you. There's not
vermin, all sorts of vermin out here.
like badgers, dogs,
Foxes, and well, you probably don't want to make a habit of getting stuck out here. It's not as safe as it might seem.
All right. I look around. It looks pretty safe, but yeah. All right.
And I think I will actually have you to act on instinct here because
Sure.
you are acting under a threat. I think he is suspicious. Okay. So that again is the roll with feral.
Excellent. Feral. I have a 0 in feral. I have a 0 in feral, but that's a 12.
Okay, so yeah, you do it. Describe how you succeed, give it a little flourish, and take +1 to the pack pool. So yeah, how do you either convince him that you're on the level or just get away from him? What does that look like?
I think I played dumb. I'm just just an ignorant poodle out here. Just thought I'd take a nice drive out in the country, clear my head, and too stupid to remember to put gas in the car. That part's probably true. But yeah, just look innocent.
Yeah. And yeah, you can kind of see that moment where he has been quite cagey around you, and you can tell that he's been suspicious, but you just see that moment where kind of the tension kind of goes out of him, and you turn the key in the ignition, the engine turns over and starts up, and he just kind of nods and says, "Well, that should at least get you back into town. But as I say, you need to be careful if you're heading out here again, lass. It's the last thing you want to do is be trapped out here." And he kind of opens the door to his Land Rover again, and climbs up inside as you start up. And as he climbs inside, you will notice, like I said, it's a standard sort of Land Rover interior, but the seats in the cab have like grey fur throws over them, that you are fairly convinced is wolf skin.
Oh yeah, yeah. I think I started to wave and be like, "Thank you, you've been kind," and then just like roll up the window and get out of there.
Excellent. Cool. So, yeah, we're quarter to two now. Does anyone have any last little scenes you want to either between yourselves, or if you just want to sort of, if there are any NPCs you want to see, or just want to sort of like set something up for next time?
I got something that I'd like to do a little bit of now. We can just hint at it if you want and save it for next time, or we can do it now.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Well yeah, go for it.
So after what was his name? Liam, the drug dealer?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, not long after he leaves, the phone in the clothing store or in the clothing section rings.
Yeah, and one of the other girls working there will answer, and presumably you'll be after Fran, and she'll go fetch her.
Yep. Kyle, you're muted.
Sorry. Hey, Garrett. What's up?
I want to show you something after work. Can you meet me tonight?
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
All right. Yeah, meet me at 218 Hastings. You know where that is?
Yeah. I know.
All right. Meet me there. I got something that I think it'll interest you.
All right.
And then I hang up the phone.
I head over there after work.
You see what from the outside looks like a very shabby, dingy, two-story tavern. Look at this place.
Yeah, it's seen better days, that's for sure.
That's why it's perfect.
For what?
So I talked to the owner, who's also the bartender and the only bartender and the only person who works here. Gets maybe half a dozen people a day total. Upstairs, totally empty.
What are you thinking?
Fran, we can start it somewhere. We can start here.
You want to start your own club?
Yeah.
I mean, I've got a record collection I'm pretty proud of.
We both do. So here's my thinking. We need a DJ.
Who are you thinking?
You.
Really?
Yeah, really.
Is this like a pack order? Can I say no?
Fran, do you want to be ringing up clothes in a shop for the rest of your life? Because,
Well, no, of course not.
I mean, I know for damn sure I don't want to go back down into the mines.
If you think,
I-
I mean, yeah, okay, yeah. Let's do this.
And then this is, I've been thinking about this for about a week, okay? Because I saw this place and I wandered in there and I saw how dead it was. And the first thing I thought was, this could be a good club. And then I thought, you, with your record collection, I mean, with our, I mean, we'll have to keep them separate so we don't get our 7-inches, so we don't get our 7 singles or 45s mixed up. But with our killer record collections and your style on the stage DJing, this will be massive.
Okay, yeah.
You'll be one of the only women DJs. And we can get press coverage. You could be in the papers, Fran.
I don't know about all that, but yeah, let's give it a shot. Yeah.
Excellent. Let's go in and meet the bartender. I want to introduce you to him. David, we're going to need a name here.
Yeah. So I think the bartender is we'll call him Reggie Entwistle. We'll put that in the character keeper. And I think this this the bar is the it's the Crossed Swords. And yeah, as you go in, it's dead inside. It's kind of a little bit, I think, maybe on the edge of town. It's kind of where the big road used to be before the motorway was put in a few miles away, and it's now just kind of in a fairly like dead nowhere space, hence kind of not really having much custom. Yeah, and I think we'll probably come back to that next time. So I guess Jax, what is the last we see of you before next time? Once you're back in town, what does Jax's normal day look like, if he has such a thing?
Normal day for Jax. I mean, I think it's probably something different every day, because it's not like he has some regular job that he goes to. It's like it's lots of little odd jobs and tasks, and yeah, he's got his family connections with the union members, and they're like, you know, things that they can't do that he can get done, and then he's got his criminal connections, and yeah, so it's constantly like checking in on friends and doing little odd jobs and keeping everybody happy and that kind of thing.
Awesome. Yeah, that sounds good.
I feel there was an episode of the TV show Atlanta where like he wanted to make some money, and so they ended up like doing like 15 different tasks for different people, like trading up and stuff. Like it's kind of that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Like someone's like, yeah, I need this, and they're like, oh, and he's like, oh yeah, I can get you that, and then he has to go through like 5 different steps of different people to get the thing for the guy who actually has the thing, and yeah, that.
Awesome. That sounds good. We can touch in with that next time. Finally, just get a last little scene of Jo, if that's okay. Once she's got back into civilization.
Yeah, I think Jo works the worst possible shift, which is like, 3 p.m. to 11 a.m. That kind of ridiculous. The shift where like you never really get used to it. So I think her plan is just like go home and sleep, and hope that. Well, I don't. Sooner or later, probably should mention that this guy who's has a gun and has what looked like wolf skins in his car. This might be relevant information.
Awesome. That sounds good.
Actually, wait. I think we should probably wait till next time for that. I think I do want to.
Go for it. Yeah, if there's something you want to.
No, I think at some point I need to talk to Fran. Because like she doesn't know I bid her, but I've been kind of like asking 2 degrees removed, like kind of keeping tabs on her a little bit, be like, okay, so yeah, I turned this person and I should probably keep an eye on them and make sure they don't go kill anybody and beforehand, before they get hooked up with the pack. So I'd probably I mean, I knew she was a friend of Garrett, so I probably didn't have to point her to Garrett, but so I think like maybe I should actually just directly talk to her outside of our hunting.
Cool. Yeah, no, that sounds good. But yeah, that we probably will get onto next time. But yeah, that's awesome. I'll make that down as a I'll just keep a note of that just so that I know stuff that we want to have happen. Brilliant. Okay, so I think with that, with everyone's sort of returning to some semblance of normality anyway, we will leave things there for the evening. Thank you very much, everyone, for playing. It's been great fun. I will stop the recording now, and if you have been watching this,